All right. So this over here and down there. I finally decided to start getting into doing book reports more regularly because uh, it inspires me to read, not like read and then put it aside and get distracted by the world. So going to try and do book reports more often. And to do that, I took a picture of all of the unread books around the apartment in a couple of different places. The only thing I think that isn't here is a couple of source books. I've got the Keyforge source book, the new D&D source books that I haven't read cover to cover yet. And I've got a few more things coming. I've got a hard copy version of Dragonlance coming with another book or two. So we've got more stuff coming. But I was like, if I put this here, it'll show, I have a book problem and I need to have book solutions. So that's just an introduction to what is all of this before we get into this book report. This book report, Death Penalty Debates by Steve Gosney. I'll put a link to his channel as well as his website below. Let me see, did I set this up to do this right? I did. Here's his website. You can see he has a bunch of other books. I've read Ideas and Answers in Law and I really liked it. I read Prepare and I really liked it. And I will admit, I may not have understood everything in Ideas and Answers in Law, but I still liked it. I know I have both of these around here. I have this around here. I'm not a big romance fan, so this is probably very low on the list of books to read, but I have it just to give an idea. So that will give you an idea that obviously we're coming into this a little more positive than usual. I clearly like his style. His style is very methodical, very direct, but he's also very philosophical. So he's much more. He thinks through the problems and he'll take you with him through each step. Now, the basic thrust behind a book titled Death Penalty Debates is he wanted to put together a set of the arguments for the death penalty and against the death penalty, but not just that. He actually goes in here and he gives you a very specific, what are we talking about? What's the question? And then breaks down the definitions. So when I think of this book, I sort of see it divided into three parts. You've got the first part, which is all of that definitions, descriptions, all of the stuff that the analytic in me likes. I like knowing, okay, this is what this term means. This is what we're going to use for this. This is how we're going to weigh these different things. I very much appreciated that. And even if you read nothing else but that part, I feel like you're probably going to get something really good out of the book just because it's a good way of seeing this sort of methodology in action. The second part is the actual pro and cons for each position that we want to discuss. It goes through, first of all, explaining the consequences of the death penalty, how it's different from other punishments, and then why is it a net positive or net negative for society. Now, again, I do this sort of just as a hobby for myself, so pretty much anyone who's seeing this probably is someone I know. So you already know my opinion, and we won't spoil the author's opinion because I feel like that's part of the interesting thing, if you don't know that, is to see if you can sort of tease it out by reading through the book. And then we get to the last part, which I think it's the part that you sort of expect, right? This is the conclusion. Here's different ways you can weigh the arguments. And then the author sort of tips his hand, tells you what his opinion is, how he got there, and overall closes out with some additional reading, which we might be adding to the book pile here. We'll have to see how I can justify doing that. So this is different than a lot of the other book reports that are more fiction based, and I feel like because of that, it's a little bit harder to talk about for two reasons. One, it's harder to talk about things you really like, just because I really like it. You can't really say a lot about that, which is why I tried to go into how it's broken out, how the argument is structured. It's also from a different point of view than I have. Different religious point of view, different just educational background. He's a lawyer. I'm not. So just these different things are interesting to me personally and helped get me to this. You know, I have a better understanding of both sides. I think now, and I don't think my opinion has changed. But then again, when I was reading through this, uh, I did like youth and government, model UN when I was growing up. So there were some things in here that were conceptually new to me. But even if I didn't know the specific arguments, there was stuff that I'd sort of already thought about. But even still, I found this useful, interesting. I don't know if I can call it entertaining because I feel like the an intellectual like satisfaction feels different than entertainment, but maybe that's just me being very picky with my words. It's good. I think if you're interested in the topic, it's worth picking up. If you're just curious to see how to do a good argument about something that's kind of a flashpoint in political discussions, maybe not as big as some other things, but people have strong opinions. So this is a good book for all of that. All right, one thing I forgot about, and so we're gonna edit this in. We're gonna try and do some editing magic. I'm not very good at it, but good practice. When I said that there were concepts, that was fair. But one thing I didn't go into is that there is a entire section in the back that I thought I had mentioned, but until I was re-listening, I did not. That deals with cases cited by both sides, which is both large and more specific. But there's also, as you go through, multiple Supreme Court and other court decisions that lay out specific arguments and uh, show you case points. So I feel like when I was re-listening to it, I was like, oh, I skipped out this part where his academic background. I mentioned that he was a lawyer, but that comes into play here because there are a lot of citations. Not I've never done a blue book. I just know that such a thing exists. So I don't know. The citations look great to me, but what do I know? But there's a lot of them in there, and that's where you can go to get more of the legal academic background there. And I sort of felt like I may have breezed over that initially, so I wanted to just boom, drop this in somewhere near the end, and I think that gives a little fairer understanding that there is a lot here. There's a lot more here than just sort of a broad brush stroke, which I was worried you might have gotten the opinion that's all that was in there when I gave my brief 5-minute interview review. Now we're up to what, like 7 or 8 minutes. Well, that's all right. I compared to how much I normally ramble, pretty good. Anyway, here's where we'll edit back to the other video, and it'll hopefully be seamless, or it'll be a horrendous, hilarious jump. But whatever. I don't know which one I'm going to grab next. You see, I have another book by Philip Athens that I read it. I haven't read the book. I read the basically the pitch, and that sounds it's a sort of horror sort of story, and so that sounds good to me. And it also is going to free him from the restrictions of writing for something like D&D. So I think this Philip Athens book I'll hopefully like a lot more. So there we are. Quick book report on death penalty debates by Steve Gosney. And yeah, I think it's totally worth your time to give it a read. This is a pretty quick read, by the way. It's about 100 pages. I think I blew through it in like maybe 2.5 days. But that wasn't reading 2.5 days. That's not like 60 some hours. That's like 2 days of when I had time to read in between things that I got it done. So yeah, there we are. And that's the book report. And I'll put everything in the description. And I now have a layout. I don't like having my face super big, but I like this reminder to me that I should stop buying books, but I'm not going to. I'm not gonna.